I welcome you all to the next course, which is planned as Philosophy of the Brahma Sutras. Of course, according to the Vishishtadvaitic system of thought. And this course is broadly based on a series of talks given by my revered father, Mahamahopadhyaya, Dr. N.S. Anantarangacharya. He gave 12 talks in Kannada at the Indian Institute of World Culture at Bangalore on Sri Bhashya. So that was published as a book also in Kannada language. So I am just generally following the topics in the flow in that in those series of talks that was delivered by my father. So to start with Acharya Vandanam or Guru Parampara Sandhanam, Anusandhanam. Srimate Anantanangarya Mahadeshkaya Namaha, Srimate Krishnadatārya Mahadeshkaya Namaha, Srimate Gopaladeshka Mahadeshkaya Namaha, Srimate Srinivasa Mahadeshkaya Namaha, Srimate Srinivasa Mahadeshkaya Namaha, Srimate Nigamanta Mahadeshkaya Namaha, Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha, Srimad Yamunamuniye Namaha, Srimad Nathamuniye Namaha, Srimate Shatakopaya Namaha, Srimate Vishwaksenaya Namaha, Shriye Namaha, Shri Srinivasa Parabrahmane Namaha. तस्मै रामानुजार्याय नमः परमयोगिने यश्रुतिस्मृतिसूत्राणाम् अन्तर्ज्वरमशीशमत् ॐ शन्नो मित्रस्य वरुणः शन्नो भवत्वर्यमा शन्न इन्द्रो बृहस्पतिः शन्नो विष्णुरुक्रमः नमो ब्रह्मणे नमस्ते वायो त्वमेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्मासि त्वामेव प्रत्यक्षं ब्रह्म वदिष्यामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु भक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अखिलभुवनजन्मस्थेम भङ्गादिलीले विनतविविधभूतपुरातरक्षैकदीक्षे श्रुतिशिरसि विदीप्ते ब्रह्मणि श्रीनिवासे भवतु मम परस्मिन् शेमुषी भक्तिरूपा पाराशर्यवचः सुधामुपनिषद्दुग्धाब्धिमध्योद्धृताम् संसाराग्निविदीपनं व्यपगतप्राणात्मसञ्जीविनीं पूर्वाचार्यसुरक्षितां बहुमतिव्याघातदूरस्थिताम् आनीतान्तु निजाक्षरैः सुमनसो भौमाप्पिबन्त्वन्महम्. These are the two Mangala shlokas in the work Sri Bhashya of Bhagavad Ramanuja. So broadly, this particular course is the subject matter is a very, very difficult subject and very broad and very deep subject. So I really don't know how I am going to cover the whole thing. As we go through, only I need to discover based on the feedback from every class, from all of you, and then how it pans out. I have not planned the entire course as such, but I have a broad view based on my father's lectures that he gave. He was a master of the subject. He had taught Sri Bhashyam 5-6 times and all the other works several times. He spent over 650 to 60 years in the study and preaching, teaching of all the Vishishtadvaitic works. Entire life he spent. He wrote over 100 works. So he could deliver in 12 lectures the entire essence of the magnum opus of Bhagavad Ramanuja, Sri Bhashyam. But I don't have such a capacity. So I'm just based on those talks, I'm just extracting some information here and there. And then I'm trying to put up a structure and some kind of a flow and add some details as and when I feel it will be needed, and also based on the feedback of all of you as we move forward in this course. So broadly, expectations from participants, as usual, we need introduction to Vedanta, Brahma Sutras. Some of these we have already seen in the earlier course, Introduction to Vishittadvaita. What is Vedanta? What is Darshana? Vidyasthanas? What is Mimamsa? and a case for inquiry into Brahman. Why should one study at all? And the background needed to study the Brahma Sutras, the commentaries on the Brahma Sutras, commentaries according to Vishishtadvaita on the Brahma Sutras, and the works of Bhagavad Ramanuja, structure of the Brahma Sutras, the content, the number, and all those details, and the content of the various chapters and adhikaranas of the Brahma Sutras, chapter-wise discussion of the contents. So this is a very broadly planned structure for this particular course. It may change as we move forward. Some additional things I may introduce here and there. As and when required, we will be looking at, because all the Brahma Sutras are having Upanishads as their subject matter. We will be dealing with a lot of Upanishadic statements also in this course. So generally the expectation is that to have an open mind, because we have several people attending this course and listening to the lectures, etc. Being students of philosophy, should try to understand, appreciate the viewpoints of various acharyas. All acharyas are great acharyas. Compared to us, we are nothing compared to them. So they all have done great sadhana in their lives. Try to present their experiences, their understanding of the realities in a very sincere way. So as time passed, due to further inquiry and further thought process as it developed over a period of time, evolved, various other viewpoints have come up. Whatever appeals to one, they can choose that. So here we are going to focus on Vishishtadvaita and what is available to us, those great acharyas' experiences. How much it can be translated to text is very difficult to say. So we have the texts written by them. So let's not focus just on the textual differences, but on the intent overall. Textual differences will exist and will be debated, will be examined in great detail and things like that. But that is the reason is mainly to establish one's own system. So we will not argue for or against other systems per se. Different people may have faith in different systems. And we do find prima facie views, Purvapakshas, in all commentaries. So when we are talking about Vishishtadvaita, Advaita, Advaita, all those systems will come. Nyaya Darshana, Sankhya Darshana, all those will come. We examine them critically, all that. Any system is like that only. So all the acharyas will go and examine critically and say this is, we don't accept, they don't accept this because of these reasons, etc. So the reason is not to simply find fault. There is a nyaya called Nahi Ninda Nyaya. The reason is not just simply finding fault in others, but to highlight one's own system's merit and not just find fault. So that is a viewpoint that every acharya has taken, and their commentators have all mentioned this particular nyaya in their commentaries. When Shankaracharya is criticizing other systems, Shankaracharya is such a great jnani acharya, how can you do that? Ramanujacharya, how can you do that? It is all just examining the viewpoints. There is no hatred or no criticism of the individual, but their viewpoints, we don't agree. We may not agree their viewpoints because of various reasons. That's perfectly all right. So that is how we have to look at these systems, because in this course of especially the Brahma Sutras, when we are talking about, it will be, all other views will be examined, and not just our acharyas, the creator of the Brahma Sutras, Badarayana or Vedavyasa himself criticizes several other viewpoints in the Brahma Sutras itself. So that we have to keep in mind all through the course. That is a very important thing. And commitment is very important. And in order to follow this course, as well as the topic that we are going to discuss is very deep and intricate. So there is a lot of commitment needed from the participants also. So I don't expect people to bring coffee, food, etc. to the class. Kindly don't do this because it needs some seriousness. And also, if possible, try to follow some dress code. These are all essential to give us certain discipline and also focus and not distract others also. All these things are essential. And topic is very wide. It is not possible to cover all the aspects or explain every term in detail in the class. Participants are expected to note down the doubts and raise them at the end or through our WhatsApp discussion group, or you can send it to the moderator and then it can be discussed that way. And several Sanskrit words will be used. It will be used a lot in this course, especially because we are going to touch upon Upanishadic statements, Brahma Sutras, and other darshanas, and all those things, various statements from the commentaries, and all that. So many of you may not be familiar with all this and may find it difficult to follow or understand, etc. But it has a purpose. Using the Sanskrit words is also important because one is that we need to get familiar with those words. To study any Shastra, we need to understand we should have familiarity with some Sanskrit words which are used because all these are in Sanskrit. The source language is Sanskrit. And also engage to ask doubts. So if you get doubt, you can raise the doubts that these words I didn't understand. Can you explain that? This concept I didn't understand, etc. Which will encourage more discussion, and that is how things becomes clear to them. To all of us. Doubt should be raised without any hesitation. So I have seen in many classes that people hesitate a lot to raise doubts, thinking that it may be very trivial, or people, what will they think if I raise such a doubt, etc. No need to have any such assumptions. Raise all the doubts that you get. However trivial it may be, it needs to be answered and clarified, and then only we can move forward. So it's very important to raise. But during the session, I will not be enabling the unmute option, but you may put it in the WhatsApp group. Basically, we will have some moderator. Probably somebody can come forward to moderate the group, and we can moderator can collect the questions and then can be put at the end of the session, or during in the WhatsApp group it can be brought up relevant questions, etc. Like that. That will have a more proper structure. And it's also important not to miss classes. Then only continuity can be maintained because the topic is such that it's very difficult to follow if you miss it. Then recordings are made available every class. So you should be able to go through that before coming to the next class. Otherwise, continuity will be lost and you may not get, because the topics is so wide, the flow will not be very slow like in the earlier session we had in the Vishishtadvaita introduction. Here the flow is very, very different. There we went through nature of matter, nature of Jivatman, nature of creation, nature of Brahman, nature of means, nature of moksha, like that in a very systematic way, each one. But here it will not be like that. Here it will be very different because it is depending on the Upanishadic statements and various parts of various Upanishads, how they teach various concepts. They are all examined and then put together in a particular chapter or particular adhikarana, etc. So the flow will be very different here. So it's important not to miss sessions as much as possible. And to refer to the previous course notes where required. That will also be the basic information will be available in those videos are already available. Slides are all there with you. So you please refer to those whenever you get doubts also. And importance of commitment and faith is stressed in the Upanishad itself, in so many Upanishads. A very nice example of this is Prashnopanishad starts like this. Six sages, deeply interested in knowing Brahman, approach sage Pippalada, request him to instruct them on Brahman. So what Pippalada says, stay here in my ashramam, performing all your duties and following brahmacharya for 1 year. Then you ask any question. He says, if I know, I will answer you. So before asking questions, they have to stay for 1 year and with commitment. Then he says to ask me, but then also if I know, I will answer you. Today, if a teacher tells like this, nobody will have the patience to stay. They will say, perhaps the teacher, if he doesn't know, we would have wasted a year. But they did not do like that. All the sages did not hesitate one moment to stay back, and they finally got all the answers. But this shows how the masters used to test the students whether they have the real intention, the commitment, sincerity to acquire knowledge. And those masters also accepted that they don't know everything. They don't say that I know everything, I'll answer you. They say, if I know, I will answer you. So that is the reason, that is how it is taught in the Upanishads. And other aspects of the expectations, you can look at the Vishittadvaita course. There is little more detail there I have given. So I have just explained a few things here as the expectations. And now we will go into an introductory part of the Brahma Sutras. So first we understand Brahma Sutras, Vedanta. What is Vedanta? We have to know clearly. Vedanta has several meanings. One of the meanings is Anta is end, is one meaning. Conclusion is another meaning. Two meanings are there for the word Anta. Vedanta means the end of the Vedas, which is the top end. It is said to be the most important, like the head of a person. It is said to be Shiras, the top end, the head of the Vedas. And it is the ultimate conclusion of the Vedas. The part of the Veda which tells us what is the ultimate conclusion of the Vedas, the teaching of the Veda. What is the ultimate teaching? What is that one should know according to the Veda itself is taught in the Upanishads. And they are also Veda being, the Upanishads themselves are called Vedas, Vedantas, because they are the top part of the Shiras, top end of the Vedas, they are said to be. It's a notional division. Vedas are all one unit only, but it's a notional division. The supreme truths taught in the Upanishads is Brahman is the cause of the universe and the protector of the universe, and that which withdraws the world unto itself. Sriti, Sthiti, Laya of this whole world, whoever does is Parabrahman, is taught very clearly in all the Upanishads. And meditating upon that Parabrahman and attaining him with his grace is the ultimate goal of mankind. This is also taught. So Upanishads tell us the nature of the reality and how to attain that. And what is the means and what do we get on attaining. This we have seen earlier in the course also. Nature of reality, nature of the means, nature of the Purushartha or the benefit, Tattva Hita Purushartha. That is the main teaching of the Upanishads. Though Upanishads primarily focus on Brahman, the entire Veda, which has two parts, notionally, Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. The earlier part is mainly having Yajna, Yagas and all these karmas. And the Upanishads are having, mainly they teach about Atman and all that. So Jnana Kanda it's called. The whole Veda is focused on Brahman only. Because the Karma Kanda also teaches how to worship the Brahman. Yajna-yagadhikas are told with various benefits, but ultimately, for one who wants liberation, one has to perform all karmas as a form of worship of the Lord. So the Purvakanda is about worship of the Lord. The Uttarakanda, Jnanakanda is about the nature of the Brahman. This is how the entire Veda is talking about Brahman only. Entire Veda is talking about Brahman. But the Upanishads mainly and completely teach about the nature of Brahman, the nature of the means, nature of the benefit that we gain, etc. So they are called the Jnana Kanda mainly. The earlier part also talks about various other benefits. Upanishads also it is found various other purusharthas like dharma, artha, kama and all that. Mainly the karmas required for gaining those benefits is told in the earlier part. Earlier part also teaches about Brahman, about liberation, everything. The famous Purusha Sukta comes in the earlier part of the Veda only. It comes in the part of Aranyaka. So this just is a notional division. But Upanishads are primarily teaching about the nature of Brahman, mainly. So the Veda itself is divided like this. Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. And Karma Kanda has a further division of Samhita, Brahmana and Aranyaka. And the Jnana Kanda is said to be the Upanishads. They are also called Vedantas. And the Vedas are so difficult to understand, and there seems to be so many apparent contradictions and so many words we don't understand what they mean. Many of them don't directly teach things to us. Indirectly, we have to understand. They are all spread all over. One part of the karma will be somewhere, another part, another accessory to that karma will be in some other part of the Veda. How to identify all these things, which is part of which karma, how to do, when to do, all these things are very, very difficult to understand. Jaimini, what he did, he examined all this and resolves all the doubts and establishes the meaning of the Purvakanda, Karmakanda of the Vedas through in the form of sutras called Purvamimamsa Sutras. And Badarayana, who is the teacher of Jaimini. Jaimini is the student of Badarayana, told in Mahabharata. So Badarayana, he authored the Brahma Sutras. It's called the Uttaramimamsa. So we clearly understand that Purvamimamsa is the earlier part. Uttaramimamsa is for the Jnanakanda. Both put together is one Veda. So this Mimamsa Shastra cannot be different. This gives a complete meaning of the Veda only. Purvamimamsa and Uttaramimamsa put together, they give the meaning of the Vedas. They explain to us all the important aspects to be known from the Vedas, resolving all the conflicts. Apparent conflicts. There are no conflicts at all in the Veda. Apparent conflicts. You may not be able to understand it. Looks like there is a conflict. But Jaimini and Badarayana have done great service by resolving all those apparent contradictions and establishing the meanings in a proper way. And our focus is more on the Uttaramimamsa here and the Upanishads. So the Upanishads are many. Rigveda has Aitareya Upanishad and Kaushitiki Upanishad. Samaveda has Chandogya and Keno Upanishad. Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda has Kathopanishad, Shvetashvatara, Taittiriya Mahanarayana, Maitrayaniya. Shukla Yajurveda has Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Ishavasya Upanishad. Atharva Veda has Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, and Prashna Upanishad. All these Upanishads are important. Except Maitrayaniya, not many references are, not much is there. Along with that, so these are all these Upanishads are looked at as one unit in the Brahma Sutras. Brahma Sutras do not address only Brihadaranyaka Upanishad or Chandogya Upanishads, etc. They establish a system across all Upanishads. So it is important to understand that all these Upanishads are part of the Veda, one Veda, which is divided into 4 parts: Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samveda, and Atharva Veda. So they are based on the different types of mantras in the Veda itself. And within them, all these divisions are available. So though there are 4 Vedas like this, plus Shukla Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda, within Yajurveda there is a division. All these are put together talking about one unified system of thought, system of philosophy. That is what is established in the Brahma Sutras. That is the most important contribution of Badarayana. Without the help of Brahma Sutras, we cannot understand the meanings of the Upanishads at all. It's impossible to understand. So the Brahma Sutra is established wonderfully, and it doesn't distinguish this Upanishad only, that Upanishad only, like that. Across all of them, there is said to be Eka Vakyatva. There is all put together is like one long sentence, you can say, giving one meaning. Like that it is. If we imagine the whole thing as one sentence giving one meaning, it will be like that. Arthaikatvat ekavakyatvam is told. The meaning conveyed by this is one. They are all unified in conveying the meaning of the realities, establishing the realities. So there is no apparent contribution or contradiction across Upanishads or within Upanishad, etc. So this is something very important to keep in mind for us. And there are 14 Vidyasthanas which are told. One has to study all these things to understand the realities, nature of the realities, to understand thoroughly. If I have to study all the works, we have to know, we have to have this background. The fundamental ones are Vedas with their accessories. Angani Vedaha Chatvaraha. 4 Vedas with their accessories. Anga means accessory. 4 Vedas with their accessories. 6 Angas. Those 6 Angas are said to be Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Chandaha, Niruktam, Jyotisham, Tatha, Kalpascheti, Shadangani, Vedasyahu, Manishana. We have dealt with it in more detail in the Vishtadvaita course. So if you look at those slides, you will get more detail about this. What are these Angas, which I am not going to talk about it again now. Shiksha is about rules of pronunciation and the Vedas, which is very important. And Swaras and all those is Udatta, Anudatta, Swarita, all those are established in the Shiksha accessory for the Vedas. Vyakarana is about the grammar. Chandas is prosody, meters, which is also very important. For the mantras to be used in practice, it has to be, the meters are very important, it has to be followed according to that. Nirukta is etymology, how to derive the meanings of the words which are very difficult to understand, the Vedic words. Yaskacharya wrote the word Nirukta, wrote the work Nirukta. Jyotisha is astronomy, and Laghada is the author. Kalpa is rituals. All the Dharma Sutras, and all those things come here. Shauta Sutras, Dharma Sutras, Shulva Sutras, all those come there. So these are all the accessories to Veda, and along with these accessories only, the meaning of Veda can be understood. So if one has to understand the meaning of the Vedas, one should first study the Veda along with the accessories, all these accessories. Only then you can really understand the meaning of the Vedas. And after that, Mimamsa is said to be one word is told in the 14 Vidyasthanas. Mimamsa is only one word, which means Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa put together is one Shastra. It is one unit. So that has to be understood. That has to be studied. Jaimini Sutras have to be studied. Badrayana Sutras have to be studied. And Nyaya Vistaraha. Nyaya Shastra is also very important for this, because Nyaya Shastra is, the tools of the Nyaya Shastra are absolutely important for anybody. Whatever we study the Vedas and understand through all these accessories and all, they are all many times not very straightforward. So it has to be established in a logical way with proper reasoning. For that we need the Nyaya Shastra. Nyaya Shastra gives us the tools to convey information in a logical way, to establish aspects in a logical way with proper reasoning. And so that is a very important Shastra for us to understand. All the Brahma Sutras are Anumanas, they are called. Nyaya Shastra's contribution is structure of Anumana, how to convey information in few words. It says how to infer things. So all Brahma Sutras are a form of Nyaya only. Without Nyaya Shastra, we cannot understand that. So we have to have some basic understanding of this. So the very few basic things that are required to understand. I will be talking about little bit about it, not in too much detail, but we will see how we are able to cover. And Puranam Dharma Shastram cha. Purana is about Vishnu Purana, Ramayana, Mahabharata, and all that. They elaborate the Vedanta meanings of the Vedas. The Upanishadic meanings of the Vedas are elaborated in the Puranas with proper illustrations, with people practicing those things so that we understand it thoroughly. Without the help of, so these Puranas and Dharma Shastra, they are called Upabrahmanas, Puranas. Upabrahmanas means they expand the meaning of the Vedas. Out of that, the Puranas expand the meaning of the Upanishads. Dharma Shastra expand the meaning of the Karma Kanda of the Vedas. So, without these, we cannot understand the Vedas. One has to study Purana and Dharma Shastra to understand the Vedas. Without that, if they study, they are said to be Alpashrutas. They are not studied fully Vedas. So, Vedas, their accessories, Purana, Dharma Shastras, and Mimamsa Shastra, Nyaya Shastra. These are all very important. So, in the accessory Vyakarana is already there, grammar. So, all these have to be studied for us to understand all the works of our acharyas and all the realities, the nature of the realities thoroughly and all that. So this is, you can imagine how much time it will take. But people used to study all these things. All our acharyas have studied, all of them. They had everything in their fingertips. Over a period of time, the capability has reduced and people don't have the capability to study all of them. So they study the minimum things required and try to understand and see what is that we have to do to get rid of this samsara. First, they will do that. And then they will try to go and study as much as possible, whatever is possible to understand that way. So things have changed over a period of time. But these are all essential. Today also there are people who have studied all this. There are people who have studied all of them thoroughly. Many of them may understand minimum things that are required to understand the commentaries of our acharyas and all that thoroughly. So if we study all these things, we can really appreciate the works of our acharyas, how wonderfully they have explained, how logically they have established things, and all those things we can appreciate and understand the deeper meanings if we get more insight into these 14 Vidyasthanas. And in that, Mimamsa Shastra is our focus. In that also, the Jnana Kanda mainly. Purva Kanda, there are many Nyayas established by Jaimini, which are used by everybody. All Acharyas accept the Nyayas established by Jaimini. The rules, some general rules he establishes, Jaimini, which have been accepted by everyone. And they are very, very useful to understand even the Brahma Sutras and the Upanishadic statements. But primarily, the Purva Kanda has yaga and all those karmas, yajna and all those things. When one performs them, they all mention certain fruit, like Swargaphala, Ayus, or long life, or health, and things like that. People get attracted and they start performing and they gain those benefits. And they find that very soon they are all ending sometime. They are all not permanent. They are impermanent. Veda itself tells, Upanishad itself tells, they are all impermanent. So when you realize that they are not eternal, one gets desire to attain eternal enjoyment, bliss. We always have this tendency. When I get some enjoyment, I look at something which is better than that. I want to attain that. Then I will have more comfort I want, more enjoyment. This is a natural tendency of anyone. What is the ultimate when one thinks about it? At some point, we will think about all these are impermanent. What is the ultimate? We come back to that Vedanta. That will tell us what is the ultimate. Then one moves to the Jnana Marga. So from the Karma Marga, one gets into Jnana Marga. Jnana Marga doesn't mean that only Jnana and leaving Karma completely. It is not that. But primarily having the knowledge as important, knowledge of the Atman, knowledge of the Paramatman, etc. That is more important. And performing karmas with this knowledge gives maximum benefit. Without this knowledge, if you perform karmas, you will get meager benefits. So that is what is taught by Yamadharmaraja to Nachiketas in Kathopanishad. Nachiketas goes to Yamadharmaraja, and then because his father gets very angry and curses him, I have given you to Yamadharmaraja, go there. So when he goes there and he asks for three boons, etc., there he tells, in Nachiketas is bent upon knowing about the nature of liberation. A small boy. But Yamadharma is surprised. He says, most people in this world don't even know about this. He says, Na samparayaha pratibhati balam pramadyantam vittamohena mudham ayam lokaha na paraitimani punah punaha vashamapatyate me. He says, Samparayaha means the other world, which is beyond this material world, the thought of the other world. Na pratibhati, to whom? Balam, he says, one who is immature, not a child. Balam doesn't mean a child here. Balam means immature, inattentive, deluded by the desire of wealth. Why he doesn't appeal to him? Because he is vittamohena mudham. Today it is so true. For all time this is true. Vittamohena mudham. One is deluded by the desire for wealth, which is all true for all time. Ayam lokaha na paraha iti mani. Only this world exists. There is nothing beyond. No liberation at all. Here only, this enjoyment only I want. People think like that. So what happens to them? Punaha punaha me vasham apadyate. They keep coming to me again and again into my sway, under my sway. Means they go into the cycle of birth and death, etc. Yamadharmara is the king of that birth and death he manages. So he is they keep going to him. They die and go to Yamadharmaraja. Again they are born. Again they go. He says like that because they are all deluded by desire of wealth. So when one realizes this, they will get a deep desire to move to the Upanishads, where the knowledge of the Brahman, etc., is taught, so that they can gain Brahman and get the ultimate bliss. So one should clearly perceive that karmas told in the Purva Kanda of the Vedas, when performed without the knowledge of Brahman, this is very important. Kevala karma, it is told. Without the knowledge of Brahman, they yield meager and short-lived benefits. So we perform karma thinking that Indra only is the Devata, he only will give the benefit. And then, so Indra is like a Devata appointed by Parabrahman. So whatever his capacity he can give, not beyond that, because he is also caught in the cycle of birth and death. He also has 100 years of life like us. Maybe it is very long because of Devatas are supposed to have 1 year for them. Our 1 year is 1 day for them. So his 100 years is very long. That's all. But after that, his life also ends. He will also go into another birth depending on his karma. If you don't realize this, we will be in this cycle only. We will be interested in gaining benefits from these devatas and other things, as per the karmas told, performed without the knowledge of the Brahman. When we do with knowledge of Brahman, then we get eternal bliss. So when we realize this thoroughly, there one gets desire to attain the eternal unlimited bliss, then goes into inquiry of Brahman. Vedas and Vedantas are all clearly declaring that knowledge of Brahman should be the ultimate goal of every being. That is told so many places, so very clearly everywhere. One small example is Yajnavalkya, a great sage, a great Brahmavit, teaches Maitreyi, his wife, thus, Atmavare drashtavyaha, shotavyaha, mantavyaha, nididhyasitavyaha, Maitreyi atmani khaluvare drishte, shrute, mate, vijnate, idam sarvam viditam. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says, oh Maitreyi, Atma has to be perceived. One has to directly perceive the Atman, realize the Atman. That is Paramatman. Atma here means Paramatman. So we will see when we go to the Brahma Sutras, what is the meaning of Atma here? Atma can mean Jivatma also, Paramatma also. Badarayana takes up this topic in a Brahma Sutra and establishes this Atma is Paramatma only. He gives a decision. His decision is like Supreme Court. Nobody can turn down that. So this particular statement he takes because there is a doubt here for us. Atma means what? The Jivatma or Paramatma? This is resolved by Badarayana in one of the Brahma Sutras. When we go there, we will see that at that point. Brahma has to be, Paramatman has to be realized. Drashtavyaha means realized. That is the end result. For that, where to start? Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha. So, one he has to be heard first from an Acharya. Shravana is required. Then Manana is required, reflected upon, and Nididhyasana. That is steadily meditated upon with love. So it is only when this Paramatman is vividly realized, darshana, it's called drashtavyaha, heard and reflected upon it, and known. When he is known, everything is known. That's what he says. So this is what Vedantas are teaching us. Atman has to be known. Paramatman has to be known. Only then everything will be known. There is nothing else for you to know beyond this. The Upanishads say. And that is why Drashtavyaha means what? Darshana. It is called Darshana. Perceiving Paramatman. Direct, vivid perception of Paramatman is called liberation. For that you have to do Shrotavyaha. Listen to the meanings of the Upanishads as taught by an Acharya. You have to do Shravana. Then Mantavyaha. It's called Manana. Contemplate on the meanings with logical reasoning and firm up the meanings in our mind. This is how it is. This is correct. This is not correct. For this reason. So whatever we have heard, we should not simply accept and then go away. We have to contemplate upon those meanings taught, and then only with proper reasoning we have to establish in our mind. Then we will get doubts. We go to the Acharya again. I was thinking about this. I got this doubt. How can this be correct? This doesn't seem to be correct. This has to be some problem. Then Acharyas will solve those problems, resolve those doubts, and then it becomes more clear. So the more we think about it, then only we will understand better and better. Without that, we cannot accept. The Upanishad itself says, don't simply accept what is taught. Think about it. Do proper reasoning yourself, and then establish the meanings firmly in your mind. And then meditate on the meaning, that is the Brahman, nature of Brahman as taught in the Upanishads. So this is how then we get darshana. Darshana means that Upanishads are very difficult to understand. They teach us that when we are completely involved in this mind-boggling world activities, pause for a minute and reflect upon yourself. Who am I? How did I come here? Where am I going? Think about this. Teach us in different ways. Through illustrations of Acharya and Shishya, dialogue between an Acharya and master and a student. They teach us all these things in a wonderful way with various anecdotes and all that. So in the Yajnavalkya says, ask King Janaka. There is a lot of important dialogues are happening between Yajnavalkya and Janaka Maharaja in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. He tells him, Adhita Vedaha, Uktopanishadkaha, Itaha Vimuchyamanaha, Kwa Gamishyasi. He says, where are you going? Do you know where you go ultimately? You have studied all the Vedas, you have heard all the Upanishads, but when you are liberated from this body, do you know where you are going? Think about it. It says, Yajnavalkya says Janaka. So Upanishad teaches us like this, through a dialogue between a master and a student. So Yajnavalkya and Janaka says, no, I don't know where I go. I only know that someday it will end, but I don't know what happens after that, where I go, what happens. Yajnavalkya teaches him. This is what Vedanta teaches us, Darshana. Badrayana. So it's very difficult to understand for us the Upanishadic statements directly. So what Badrayana or Vedavyasa did is condense the essential teachings of the Upanishad in a systematic way, the form of Brahma Sutra. Each one is like a rule. A Nyaya means like a rule, which can be applied across similar instances everywhere. It's like a formula. Wherever this kind of a instance happens, you can apply this rule and understand the meaning of that. You will have no doubts. You can imagine so many Upanishads are there. Vedas are so huge. So many Upanishads are there. Each Upanishad is big and so complicated. The essential teaching of all these things, without any doubt, he has established in only 545 sutras. It's a wonderful thing that he has. Purva Kanda is much more difficult to understand because of the karmas, yajna, and Jaimini has to write close to 4,000 sutras to clarify the doubts of the Purva Kanda. Badarayana did it in only 545. According to us, there is a little bit difference in the number. But you can imagine how wonderfully he has coined the formulas so that these are like formulas applicable across similar instances in the Upanishads. We can derive, understand so many other instances based on one sutra is applicable all over several places. So we'll see those things when we take examples. But over a period of time, what happens? The sutras are very short, 2 words, 3 words, sometimes only 1 word. You can't understand. Even Vyakarana sutras are like that. Ashtadhyayi, Panini Sutra, they are also like that only. Very difficult to understand. And over a period of time, nobody could understand this. During the time of Badarayana, everybody had the capability to understand. If he just said 3 words as a sutra, people could understand. What is Badarayana meaning here? Which part of the Upanishads? What is the doubt there? What is the clarification that he is giving? What is his final answer, conclusion to that Upanishadic statement? Everything he could tell in few words, 2 words, 3 words, like that. And people were able to understand that. But over a period of time, it was impossible to understand these Brahma Sutras. And so, Acharyas had to write detailed commentaries on the Brahma Sutras. And they established the various Vedanta darshanas. Darshana also means a means to understand, to realize Brahman. An instrument to realize Brahman, Darshana. Direct perception is also Darshana. Darshana is also a means to understand Brahman. So the Advaita Darshana, Vishrita Advaita Darshana, we call. So by studying this, we can understand the realities like that. That is also a Darshana. It's called Vedanta Darshanas, they are called. So various rishis and acharyas established their experience and understanding of the truths. Whatever they had at that particular time, their understanding, their experiences. So this led to several darshanas. Some accepted Vedas as ultimate means. Some said inference is the ultimate means, while also accepting Vedas. They like the logicians, Nayayikas. They say inference is the ultimate for us. We establish everything through inference itself, Anumana. But we also accept Vedas. Some said we don't accept Vedas at all. And even among those who accepted Vedas, some of the rishis like Kapila Rishi, he says there is no Brahman at all. He doesn't understand, he doesn't agree that there is existence of Brahman. He doesn't believe in the existence of Brahman. So he established Sankhya Darshana, which doesn't accept Brahman. So there are so many differences if you see. Accepting Vedas ultimate, that is one thing. In that also there are two. Accepting the Purva Kanda primarily, accepting the Uttara Kanda primarily, Upanishads mainly. So Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, like that it came. and then Sankhya, etc. Some accept Brahman, some don't accept Brahman at all, and some do not accept Veda at all. Some accept only Anumana as the main valid means of knowledge. So there are so many differences happen, so many different systems of thought evolved from this. So Jaimini said, Veda has meaning only when associated with work. Amnayasya kriyarthatvat, he says in a sutra. It should only be associated with work. Otherwise, it doesn't have meaning, independent meaning. It has to be associated with something else, not directly. Jaimini established the validity of Vedas in a most wonderful way. And as it is impersonal, it is apaurusheya, eternal, and all that, he establishes in a wonderful way. But at the same time, he said, it has meaning only when associated with work. Word itself cannot convey meaning if it is not associated with some action. Otherwise, words cannot convey meaning. He says, existing objects are there. It has to be involved in some action. So only then it can understand. If I tell somebody a book, he won't understand if he has not seen any book in his life. He will not understand anything. If he sees somebody, when I say bring a book, somebody brings a book, then he will understand seeing that, oh, this is a book. He understands when it is involved in action. This is Jaimini's view. So for him, Upanishad is not important because it teaches Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So what? Brahma is there. What are you supposed to do? No action involved in that. Brahma is not there also, you can tell this sentence. You can give a meaning to this sentence like that. So some of these things are all like that. They are very interesting developments. Sutras. There is many aspects in Purva Mimamsa, though they are very great contribution in terms of nyayas, in terms of resolving the aspects required in the respect of yajnayagas, nityanayamtika karmas, and all those things. Their metaphysics are different also. So we see many darshanas emerging in our tradition as time passed. And people started making inquiry into the thoughts of various acharyas, and it got refined and evolved for a period of time, we can say, in different ways. And thus so many things came, and finally darshanas are, some of them are called astika darshanas, some of them are called nastika darshanas. The Jaina, Bauddha, Charvaka, who do not accept the validity of Vedas, are called nastika darshanas. Those accept the validity of Vedas are called astika darshanas. In that also, we can divide into three categories. Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, and Vaisheshika. They are one category. Purva Mimamsa. And all four of them accept Anumana as the main thing. And Purva Mimamsa is Purva Kanda of Vedas. That is by Jaimini. They also, though there are some intricate aspects in that, Jaimini has accepted Brahman, Devatas and all that, but Jaimini's commentators said Jaimini doesn't accept Brahman. So, Purvamimamsakas means the commentators of Jaimini Sutras, like Prabhakara, Kumarila Bhatta. They all said Jaimini has not accepted Brahman. But Badarayana says Jaimini has accepted Brahman. Jaimini's Guru says in Brahma Sutra that Jaimini accepts Brahman. But Jaimini's commentators did not accept that. They have commented in such a way that he has not accepted Brahman or Devata, etc. So there are things like that which are little more, we are not going to worry much about those things, but it is another Shastra, another Darshana, Purva Mimamsa Shastra. Uttara Mimamsa is the Upanishads. For us, both put together is one Shastra only. We don't differentiate as different Shastras because we also borrow a lot of things from Purva Mimamsa is required for Brahma Sutras also to understand. And Badarayana himself in many sutras directly gives examples of Purva Mimamsa aspects, what is established there by Jaimini, and he takes Jaimini's name in many sutras also. Like that, you can see all those things when we go into more detail. So Badarayana, the Uttara Mimamsa, is Badarayana sutras called Brahma Sutras, Shariraka Sutras, Vedanta Sutras, etc. This is the main thing that we are going to see. In this, Acharyas wrote commentaries for the Badrayanas Brahma Sutras, and three distinct darshanas evolved from this. The Advaita Darshana of Shankaracharya, Dvaita Darshana of Madhvacharya, Vishishtadvaita Darshana of Ramanujacharya. The oldest is Shankaracharya's, next is Ramanujacharya, and then came Madhvacharya. So the oldest available commentary on the Brahma Sutras today is Shankaracharya's commentary only. And based on, these are also not only Brahma Sutras, these are also based on Shruti and Smriti Prasthanas. Upanishads also they commented. And also the Smriti, among them, the most important is Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is taken as a primary Smriti. As per Badarayana, in the Brahma Sutras, he himself gives examples of Smriti. He uses the word Smriti in the sense of Bhagavad Gita mainly. So Bhagavad Gita is taken as one of the important prasthana, means one of the main sources of knowledge. And so Smriti is Bhagavad Gita, Shruti is all the Upanishads. And so all the Upanishads, Acharyas have commented, some of them have commented independently, completely for all Upanishads, like Shankaracharya has commented completely for many Upanishads. Ramanujacharya did not completely comment for Upanishads, but he wrote a work called Vedartha Sangraha, which is addressing, commenting, where he commented upon the most important statements of all the Upanishads. He picked Upanishad statements from all the Upanishads and then he has commented on them. So it is like a combined Upanishadic commentary in as per Vishishtadvaita. Whereas in his works like Brahma Sutra commentaries and Bhagavad Gita commentary, he has commented for several Upanishads completely. The Brahma Sutra commentary itself, part of the commentary, he has completely commented upon Mundakopanishad, Katopanishad, Shvetashvatara, Chandogya Upanishad, several parts of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. All these statements of the Upanishads are commented upon by Ramanuja inside the Brahma Sutra Bhashya itself. So he did not independently write complete commentaries for the Upanishads. So this is how the darshanas are established, and our focus is more on the Vishishtadvaita darshana based on the Brahma Sutras in this particular course. We will go into briefly into that, not into too much detail. So the darshanas itself themselves, we will just take a quick look of the darshanas and then move forward. And I think we already come to the end of the hour. So I will conclude today's session here and then leave the class open for any questions from Sri Krishna Srimate Ramanujaya Namaha. I'll enable unmute. Yeah.
Namaskar, Swami. One question. It mentioned that you mentioned Taittiriya Narayana Upanishad. Aren't they the same? Or and also other question is Narayana Upanishad part of a mainstream Upanishad or was it introduced later?
As far as we are concerned, it is a mainstream Upanishad only.
Okay.
It is one of the most important Upanishads for us.
Okay. Mahanarayana Upanishad.
Mahanarayana Upanishad is the most important Upanishad for us. Okay. Because that is where Ramanuja establishes that for all the Brahma Vidyas, the object of meditation is Srimad Narayana is established in that Upanishad only.
Okay, again, and it was part of the original 18 Upanishads, is it Mahanarayana or was it?
Yeah, it's definitely part of it.
Okay, again.
Mahanarayana Upanishad is important, yes.
Again.
Yeah.
Now all Upanishads come in Gankhand.
This Jaimini is a disciple of Vyasadev, Badarayan?
Yes, very much.
Okay.
It comes in Mahabharata, that aspect. Because Vyasa, what he did was, he divided the Vedas into four. Rig Veda, Ajurveda, Samveda, it's also told in the Vishnu Purana and Mahabharata also. So when he divided into four, he chose four disciples and taught them these 4 Vedas and asked them to propagate it further. He chose Jaimini for Samaveda and then taught him Samaveda, asked him to propagate it further. So through Jaimini, Samaveda was propagated. So Vadarayana's first student for Samaveda is Jaimini, Vaishampayana for Yajurveda, and then Sumantu for Atharva Veda, Pingala for Rig Veda. So 4 students he selected and taught the 4 Vedas and asked them to propagate it further.
So this you said that Badarayan Vyasadeva, he mentions himself that Jaimini has accepted Brahman, but the
Yes,
commentator in the lineage of Jaimini, they say
yes.
that Jaimini has not accepted Veda and Ishvara as a
Yeah.
reality behind the mantras, etc. So, but this argument is very strong because if Vyasadeva is accepting Brahman and Bhagavan as an ultimate reality, he would not choose a disciple who would distort his intended meaning. So, how do they refute this?
So the reason why that such a thing has happened is also Jaimini in his sutras itself did not mention specifically Brahman. In his sutras, he gave importance to karma only. Okay, but Badarayana mentions, so what the commentators did was they only looked at Jaimini Sutras. They did not look at Badarayana Sutras because for them Upanishad itself is not very important for the Purva. They didn't give importance to Upanishad itself. So that is the reason. Though they accept validity of the Upanishads, they accept it as subservient to the statements of the Purva Kanda only, Shesha. So it is not independently valid. Sutta Pramana is not there for Upanishads. It is only as associated with the Purva Kanda statements only. Upanishads are valid, they say. So that is why it. But Badarayana Sutras clearly say that Jaimini has accepted, and Vedanta Deshika, what he did was, one of the great acharyas who commented on the Mimamsa Sutras, he has established that Jaimini Sutras he has commented with including Brahman, Seshwara Mimamsa it is called. He wrote a work, 2 works, Seshwara Mimamsa and Mimamsa Pasuka, where he has shown that Jaimini has accepted Brahman.
Can I ask maybe
Same thing what
general?
Badarayana has told. Adi Shankaracharya and then Ramanuja differs, or they given the different opinion. Why?
For what? Badarayana and Vyasa. Why means I cannot answer. You have to ask them. They have not given importance. So we have to
One is
accept that.
Dvaitam, one is Visishtadvaitam, one is Dvaitam. Not why. I am asking the same interpretation given by Badarayana. These people are, these 2 acharyas given a different opinion.
That is based on, like I said, their experience and their understanding of the Vedas and Shrutis and Brahma Sutras and all that. Because the Sutras are a continuous stream of words. Okay. It is very, very, at that time, if you have some 1,000 words given to you as one stream of words, and only the marking of the chapter is there, which is common to all. But within the chapter, the Adhikaranas and Sutras, they are not clearly known. So Acharyas are divided in different ways. So that is how the differences have also come. One sutra, if you break it into 2 sutras, the meanings will change. 2 sutras, if you combine into 1 sutra, its meanings will change. So if 2 words are taken as 2 sutras or 1 word or 1 sutra, meanings are changing. So that kind of interpretation we see in the Brahma Sutras. That is what that was
Swami,
possible at that time. Depending on their understanding and experience, they have done like that. So
Swami, I heard Sesar Mimamsa is not completely
From
available
what
in that time.
Seshwara Mimamsa is a later work after Ramanuja. Vedanta Deshika wrote it in the 13th century. Shabara
Swami, I
Swami
heard
is a
that
very
is
old
not.
commentator. Shabara Swami is a very old first commentator of Jaimini. So even Kumarila Bhatta and Prabhakara, they are all old commentators.
How
Again,
many
Swami.
lessons? How many lessons are planned for this course?
I don't know. Roughly, I think about 35-40 is what I feel. Maybe a little more. I don't know. If you are here and there, we can change.
Again, Swami, I
Yeah.
just have one question. In the Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter, Krishna also refers shloka about related to
Correct.
Brahma Sutra. So, how do we take this sutras then?
ऋषिभिर् बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिः पृथक् पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव is told Nishyantaihi. So the Brahma Sutras are mentioned there in the Bhagavad Gita. So this debate of whether which came first, whether Brahma Sutra came or Bhagavad Gita came and all, we cannot answer that. It is something beyond our perception. So it is not possible to answer those questions. So it has to be accepted that the different kalpas at different times it may be there. So Dwapara Yuga only Bhagavad Gita was also taught, and Veda Vyasa also divided during Dwapara Yuga only, the Vedas. So all this happened in the same Yuga, that is as per the Vishnu Purana Pramana. So it may be some here and there, some difference may be there, we don't know.
Another
Maybe
thing is,
it might have happened in parallel also, we don't know. So
does the Sutrakara himself has an opinion about the system which he would have accepted?
That can be known only from the commentaries of the Acharyas. So Ramanuja says Sutrakara's opinion is only Vishittadvaita. Shankara says Sutrakara's opinion is only Advaita. So we have to only see from that. We don't know. Because the sutras themselves, we cannot understand directly without the help of commentaries. We have to read commentaries only and understand. When you read the commentaries, they will tell you this is the meaning of the sutra. So if that appeals to you, you have to accept that. If it doesn't appeal, you read some other commentary and see whether that appeals to you. That way. But overall, giving importance to everything, giving the primary meaning of all the Upanishadic statements, accepting primary meanings, and not leaving out a part of the Upanishads that's not important, etc. All overall, if you see, Vishtadvaita, Ramanuja's commentary has the maximum validity of the Vedas, Upanishads has been accepted in the Ramanuja Bhashya. In the other Bhashyas, it is not really like that. Advaita, when you see, the Dvaita Vakyas are given secondary importance, secondary meanings. In the Dvaita, if you see, Advaita Vakyas are given secondary meaning. But in Vishishta Advaita, it is not so. So that appeals maximum to people who look at it from that point of view.
Again, Swami.
No other questions?
So, I mean, you said Dvaita Vakyas, you said it is not given importance. Sorry, what
Dvaita Vakyas which are teaching Dvaita, which are teaching duality.
Okay.
A difference among you. Bhokta Bhogyam Prerita Rancha Matva is one statement.
Yeah.
It says you have to know Bhokta Bhogya Prerita is different.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The Advaita doesn't accept that. All are Brahman only for them.
Okay.
There is no three. Okay. Three is only people don't mute if you are not talking. Okay. So in the Dvaita, what happens is Dvaita Bheda is most important. So I am Atma Brahma Tattvamasi, for example. These things are not taken as a primary meaning because it is seem to be telling identity. It is not identity. One, they don't accept. It has to be extreme difference has to be is the philosophy, Dvaita.
Okay.
Bheda is the philosophy. So some statements are telling Abheda, Tattvamasi, for example, I am Atma Brahma, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, like that. They are telling everything is one. They don't accept one. They accept Bheda.
Okay. But you are saying Ramanuja alone gave the Vakya?
He took both of them as equal meaning, primary meaning, by establishing the Shariratma Bhava. We'll look at it after some time. The
Okay.
future,
Gataka
next
Shuddhi they call. Is that what called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Again.
Yes, Mr. Wayne, you can unmute and ask any question.
Would you recommend reading the Vedanta Sangraha for this class?
Vedartha Sangraha. That's a huge work actually. It's a very huge commentary it has got. And we will see that maybe later. First we will do this course and probably we can see later, depending on the interest.
So I have a copy of the book. It's 300 pages, but would it be helpful with this class?
No, in this class, in this session, this is about Brahma Sutras, so we are not touching on Vedartha Sangraha. But what Ramanuja has established in Vedartha Sangraha, some part of it will be relevant here also. Maybe here and there we will take it.
Okay, well, I'll take it up after the class, after we finish the course.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. Once we do this, maybe we can look at it. Yeah. If there are no more questions, I shall conclude today's session.
धन्यवाद
Dhanyavad.
Namaskaram.